So for your next course, we're actually going to do two courses together. The first is a Sibley squash soup. And Sibley squash, it's part of our historic seed project, and you'll hear more about that at the next course. But we have local farmers growing a number of things for us, and this is one of them that has historic roots to the area. It's a very unusual squash, and it's more of a pumpkin, but shaped like a large football or maybe a rugby ball. But it's really sweet and earthy, umami. It's just got a great flavor that we thought we could explore in a number of ways. So in this first course, you have a roasted Sibley squash soup, and the sprinkle on top of it is part of our zero waste initiative. So here, the peels and the seeds and all the parts of the Sibley squash that didn't make it into the soup, we dehydrated and turn into this spice mix. We do that a lot as part of our zero waste initiative. We don't like anything going into the trash and not even the compost. And so here, once we concentrate those flavors by dehydrating, it makes a fantastic spice to go on top of the soup. Next to that is a roasted Sibley squash in Papamole. We're at the tail end of Pawpaw season right now. We gathered almost 200 pounds, closer to 150 pounds this year. And I'm not a big fan of Pawpaw as a sweet item. I don't like it in desserts very much, although there are a few things that I think we can make it nice in. I prefer actually to go savory, and in this case, I did one of the old standards I used to make at my old restaurant in New Mexico, a mole colorado. Mole colorado is not as chocolatey and a little more, traditionally it'd be tomato-based. Here we use pawpaw for that acid that replaces the fruit of the tomato and the sweetness. So instead of plantain or banana, we use the pawpaw. And so it works really well in this mole. You'll see it's got a little spice, not too much. Definitely the rich earthiness that you'd expect in a mole, but not the clunky, heavy chocolatiness that you normally would get. That's going to be on top of a Missouri white bean hummus, just a little bit of salt in there, and some more of our zero waste scrap is on top. And here it's just a number of vegetable peels, think carrots and whatnot that we've gathered up over the past year, dehydrated, turned into a spice mix. So both of these are a great example and a celebration of our zero waste initiative, where we're averaging less than 5 gallons of food waste a week, even in our busy months before COVID. On the side, you'll find a Pawpaw spicebush bread. Pawpaw, we've talked about a little bit already. Spicebush always comes out at the same time as pawpaw, and it's the only red berry out in the woods right now. If you want to explore and see if you can find it, the easiest way to know you have what you think you have is squeeze it. It should burst, and there should be a smell that smells like black pepper or like a greenish black pepper. And so we gather quite a bit of that, dehydrate it, and we use it throughout the year. We don't actually use black pepper, traditional black pepper, in anything. And spicebush is our main seasoning for a more traditional flavor. That's served with a Foraged chanterelle mushroom compound butter. And hopefully you'll enjoy that bread and butter combo that all works into this. So these two courses are a really good example of zero waste, but also how we do fermentation, preserving, canning, because when we forage, we're foraging by season, and most foraged items have a very short season, whether it's pawpaw with its 2-week window or mushrooms that are dependent on temperature and rain. So when things are out, we're opportunists. We get as many as we can ethically and sustainably, and that means that it tends to be feast or famine. The way we balance that out throughout the year is look back to the old ways. How did people in the 1820s, the 1830s, how did they survive in the Ozarks or really anywhere else in the frontier land? And it was by dehydrating there by sun, or canning or preserving, using salt in some cases. And so we take some of the techniques that we've learned from our research and apply it to modern techniques We have a vacuum chamber sealer. We're able to do things airtight, which really helps preserve things in a way that they couldn't have. We have a great freezer that we can keep things frozen throughout the year. And so by you looking into the old, using the new, we're able to give you foods out of season, but still just as fresh, or modified in a way that enhances them to make more sense throughout the year. So a good example that's not on the menu right now is sour corn. You've heard of sauerkraut, of course, but there's a technique that's identical where they take fresh corn on the cob and ferment it, and it becomes sour corn just like sauerkraut. We have all sorts of sour corn in there, and when we get to January and February and we want that fresh corn flavor and texture, it's not going to be fresh, obviously, but it's going to be crisp and it's going to be very corn flavored, but now it's going to have that fermented sour funkiness like you would get in sauerkraut. So it's different, but it creates something really special, and that's something that modern restaurants just don't do. If you're getting corn in January, it's because they're buying out of season corn or buying frozen corn. And we prefer the texture and the flavor of this, and doing something more natural with the bounty that we get. Anyway, hope you enjoy these 2 courses, and we'll be around shortly to see if you have any other questions or need anything. Thank you.